Case News, Broom at 1. I'm Stephen Compton first. The headlines. President Joseph Boyka tells Liberians God is not making new land as he endorses armed forces of Liberia's evasion of citizens near its barracks in 72nd Peacefield. Bomi County Senator Edwin Snow accuses the executive branch of government of violating established National Remuneration Standardization Act of 2019. Following Finance Minister Augustine Gafuan announced harmonization reversal, right? Senate to cite Augustine Gafuan for clarity. Hundreds of ICOM ArcelorMittal Liberia subcontracted company workers protest against bad labor practices, alleged the company of failing to address long-standing underpayment and has a benefit despite 1.4 billion project nearing completion. But Labor Minister Councillor Cooper terms the protest illegal. And away from Liberia now, dozens of people have been killed in a violent shooting attack on two villages in Nigeria's near western state of Kwara after they refused to surrender to extremists who preached a strange doctrine. That's according to the state government. And as well, an unknown number of aid workers are missing after a strike hit a hospital in South Sudan near the Ethiopian border, a charity group says. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Up next is the bulletin of news with Jenin Pesima.
President Joseph Parker has endorsed the armed forces of Liberia's decision to evict residents occupying land near the 72nd barracks, particularly along the front view of the military facility. On January 19, the AFL, through the Ministry of National Defense, issued a 14-day ultimatum to property owners in the affected area to vacate the land or face eviction. The action is part of government's plans to renovate and rehabilitate several military barracks across the country, with the 72nd Barracks receiving special attention. Following the issuance of the ultimatum, affected residents took to the streets in protest, calling on the government and international partners to intervene. The residents argued that they illegally acquired their properties and warned that any eviction carried out by the AFL would violate their constitutional right to own property. Speaking at EBK Barracks in Shuffling, Margibi County, President Boykat said God's not making a new land, a statement being widely criticized. He expressed his full support for the military in reclaiming every property that belongs to it, stressing that the AFL is fully aware of the legally established boundaries. He explained that the recovery of the land belonging to the armed forces is a necessary step in the ongoing rehabilitation and renewal process aimed at improving soldiers' welfare and strengthening national security. President Abuakat emphasized that any property rightfully belonging to the army must be returned, adding that the government remains committed to ensuring the military is properly accommodated as part of broader security sector reforms. Birmingham County Senator Edwin Malvin Snow has written the Senate to cite Minister of Finance and Development Planning Augustine Gafuan over the Finance Minister's report of reversing harmonization in several government institutions. Recently, on the class Reloaded, a government online show, Minister Gafuan disclosed that harmonization has been reversed at the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, General Auditing Commission, as well as the judicial branch of government and other institutions. In the communication, the Bomi lawmaker challenged the truthfulness of the Minister of Finance, claiming noted that inquiries pursuant to oversight responsibility are essential to safeguard legislative or prerogatives uphold and rules of law and ensure transparency, accountability in the management of public resources. Slow argued that the announced harmonization reversal falls outside of legislative actions, which include appealing, amending, or modifying an existing act to establish the remuneration standardization of 2019. He ordered that such action, if proven true, should not only represent a gross violation of the act to establish the remuneration standardization of 2019, but a disregard to the statutory mandate or obligation of the national legislature. Hundreds of workers of AFCONS, a subcontracted company of Asalamita Liberia AML, have staged a mass protest against the company over what is believed to be bad labor practices. The protesters, heard chanting "No benefit, no work," have accused AFCONs of carrying out bad labor practices against Liberians, failed to pay benefits and address low payment of workers. According to them, after working on a 1.4 billion project, which is nearing completion, the company have shown no signs of paying the benefits, including hazard benefits. They also call on Nima County Legislative Caucus, local and national authorities to intervene in the ongoing bad labor practices perpetrated against Liberians, noting that several years workers have experienced extreme bad labor practices at AML. Meanwhile, Minister of Labor, Councillor Cooper Cry, has described the AFCON's workers' ongoing strike action as illegal. In a statement issued Thursday, the Labor Minister warned the aggrieved workers against protest and demand them to return to work and seek lawful channels to address their grievances. The AFCON workers on Thursday staged a strike action at the company's premises, demanding an end of low payments, hardship allowances, and other benefits. Minister Kra, in his statement, said, although the ministry expresses concern over the workers' actions, such concern must be presented in an orderly and lawful manner, particularly while claims require proper documentation and investigation. The Labor Minister called on affected workers to formally document their complaints and file them with the Office of the Labor Commissioner in respective counties for proper hearing and investigation. The Solidarity and Trust for a New Day has strongly condemned, Satan mass demolition, which have caused hundreds of families to have been displaced, describing it as illegal setback for the affected. Addressing a press conference Thursday, STEM chairperson Moluba Molu called for immediate end to what he termed forceful demolition, arguing that it threatened safety and rights of poor Liberians. Molu cited that escalating land grab crisis has already displaced tens of thousands of citizens in Monserrado County, along with repeated humanitarian emergencies in communities including Stockton Creek, Sinker Old Road, Newport Street, Bushore Island, Broadville, and Congo Town. According to him, the mass demolition across several communities have left thousands of families homeless, traumatized, and without protection. He further called on the government to halt all demolition actions, stating that post-war Liberia needs land reform that safeguards vulnerable communities, but the weaponization of coercion state power to dispose them of their homes. The government of Liberia has announced that construction works on the Roberts International Airport corridor are expected to resume shortly following the completion of an audit into the project. The road works are earlier placed on hold by the government amid allegations of financial irregularities involving the company constructed to undertake the project. According to the government, the suspension was intended to ensure a comprehensive review of the project's financial management. Speaking at MICAT press briefing Thursday, Information Minister Jeremy Pia confirmed that the General Auditing Commission has concluded its audits, which examined the disbursement and utilization of funds under the previous administration. According to Minister Pia, the audit addressed concerns related to financial discrepancies and prompted the government to suspend construction works on the project. At the same time, Information Minister Jeremy Pierre has issued a strong warning against individuals he claimed are attempting to politicize mass demolition across several communities, noting that the ongoing demolitions are judicial matters that the executive branch of government, according to him, all demolitions are being done in strict adherence of the law, of the rule of law. The information minister, who referenced the Congress for Democratic Change national headquarters demolition in 2025, or the mass demolition, noted any who feel dissatisfied must seek redress through the court system. According to him, the government is committed to uphold every court order regarding demolition, adding that people who are occupying lands that belong to the 72nd Barrack must be able to leave. He noted strict adherence to the rule of key is every country in cardinal terming is surest of national development. Environmental Protection Agency has responded to recent report issued by the Associated Press and GECO projects of Bear Martin Mining Corporation. In the report, the Associated Press and GECO project outlines alleged environmental incidents in Gicado surrounding communities. But in response to report, EPA says the incident reference occurred between 2026 and 2023. 2016 and 2023, before the current leadership took office in February 2024. According to the EPA, all reported incidents were investigated with field inspections, laboratory testing, and reports shared with affected communities and legislature. The Liberian National Police says it strongly condemned a video circulating on social media which shows an officer of the police supported unit it claimed of off-duty for striking a female with a stick, causing her to lose consciousness. In a statement issued Thursday, the police expressed opposition to any act of excessive force abuse or conduct that violate the law, human dignity, and the standard of professional policing. The police added that such actions, if established, are incompatible with the values, disciplines, and public service mandate of the Liberian National Police. According to police statement, while no formal complaint has yet been filed by the victim of her family, it has acted without delay in keeping with statutory responsibilities and internal accountability frame, adding that the officer involved has been identified, taken to custody, and referred to the professional standard. And the group name World Foundation International will Friday officially launch its nationwide Feeding the Nation project.
We'd like to say many thanks to Jenan Persimmon for the bulletin of news. It's a regular feature of King's News Broom, 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one globe. One of our top developments, President Joseph Boakai tells Liberians God is not making new land as he endorses armed forces of Liberia's invasion of citizens near its barrack in 72nd Painesville. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you voices of the news makers. Welcome back and thanks for being there. With this first development now, President Joseph Boakai has endorsed the armed forces of Liberia's decision to evade residents occupying land near the 72nd Barracks, particularly areas along the front view of the military facility. On January 19, 2026, the AFL, through the Ministry of National Defense, issued a 14-day ultimatum to property owners in the affected area to vacate the land of phase eviction. The action is part of government's plan to renovate and rehabilitate several military barracks across the country, with the 72nd barracks receiving special attention. Following that assurance, the issuance of the ultimatum, affected residents took to the streets in protest, calling on the government and international partners to intervene. Meanwhile, speaking at the EBK barracks in Shofton, Magabe County, President Joseph Boykai said God is not making new land, a statement being widely criticized.
You know, this is one of the things that we have to do in this country. That's why I said to minister to agencies, when you have an agency, make sure, apart from running the office, know your asset, know. So the army people know the demarcation, they know what land belongs to them. If they don't, there's a way to determine that. We'll make sure that the army is not violating anybody's right.
Are you going to reconsider the appeal? They are appealing to the government now to reconsider them, but because
to reconsider who? The army is entitled to decent livelihood at their place. God is not making new land. That place was for the army.
Okay.
And the army is going there to take it back.
President Joseph Boyka there responding to citizens' concern about planned eviction at the 72nd Barrack in Painesville. The government of Liberia has announced that construction work at the Roberts International Airport corridor are expected to resume shortly following the completion of an audit into the project. The road works were earlier placed on hold by the government and amid allegations of financial irregularities involving the company contracted to undertake the project. Speaking at MICAD press briefing Thursday, Information Minister Jeremy Pierre confirmed that the General Auditing Commission has concluded its audit, which examined the disbursement and authorization of funds under the previous administration.
We had great delay in our road works. The Ministry of Public Works has focused on this octopus raw aggression kind of road work to be delayed because of the rain. Right now, we can announce to you that what they intended to do with the octopus raw aggression road work has commenced fully, which means in every corridor where there's supposed to be road work will start. And that will include the store process that have been taking place in the Roberts Highway. I informed you here before that there was some question about accountability on that road, and an audit was commissioned. That audit process has been concluded. The road work will resume. They will do as much as they can before the rain comes. Don't forget that when we came to power, we focused on that road. We've been making huge progress that the road has been advancing. That progress will continue now that it's about to resume, and they will do as much as they can until we get to the point where the level of the rain does not permit them to do anymore. And that intervention is doing on road is all across the country. It means the buffer road will continue. It means that the roads in the southeast that have been built.
The Information Minister also noted that the RIA road remains a national priority and assured the public that efforts are underway to ensure its timely completion.
And when the rule of law acts, neither the executive nor the legislative branches of the government can get involved and say, this decision of the court, sorry to say, is nonsense. Don't pay attention to it. You can run a society like that.
And now up next, back to this development. At the same time, Information Minister Jerry Pia has assured a strong warning against individuals who he claimed are attempting to prioritize a politicized mass demolition across several communities, noting that the ongoing demolition are judicial matters, not the executive branch of government.
And when the rule of law acts, neither the executive nor the legislative branches of the government can get involved and say, this decision of the court, sorry to say, is nonsense. Don't pay attention to it. You can't run a society like that. So the Satan land issue, of course, was a matter that was adjudicated by the court, and the court's ruling was executed. It was not a President Waka decision. It was not even necessarily the government of Liberia decision. It was the outcome of a judicial process. Some of the individual national leaders who are attempting to politicize the outcome of a judicial process are lawyers. Then again, there are lawyers who don't respect what the court system represents. One of them said, it is being mean-spirited to break down people's houses with no relocation plan. The government of Liberia, one of the executive, did not wake up one morning and say, we want to go seize a particular area that people are living, and we are supposed to plan for those people with relocation before. They want to go. Some of them, the political parties they are associated with, have the headquarters demolished. Why? The result of a court ruling. Now you politicize a court action that granted somebody their property without countenance anything that will promote chaos and anarchy. We continue to see the court as the place to seek redress, and we believe that all of our citizens should continue to respect the outcomes of judicial processes.
And up to this development, the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day has strongly condemned Satan mass demolition, which have caused hundreds of families to have been displaced, describing it as illegal setback for those affected. Addressing a press conference Thursday, Stand Chairman Moba Molu called for immediate end to what he termed forceful demolition, arguing that it threatens safety and rights of poor Liberians.
Well, I would begin by saying that agriculture is the backbone of Liberia's economy and the foundation of national survival. Moreover, agriculture is the lifeline of Liberia's economy and the key to ending hunger and poverty. It is through agriculture that communities are nourished, are sustained, and the nation's prosperity is secured.
The Solidarity and Trust for a New Day stand following its visit to the devastated remains of Satan, strongly condemns the illegal state-backed demolition exercise of private properties carried out by armed police officers acting on a corrupted court order. This heartless operation represents a dangerous and ongoing weaponization of the court system to serve the interests of the powerful, well-connected individuals at the expense of poor but legitimate landowners. Stand is alarmed by the escalating land grab crisis that has already displaced tens of thousands of citizens in Montserrat County alone, triggering repeated business humanitarian emergencies in communities such as Stockton Creek, Cinco Oro, Newport Street, Bushra Land, Brewerville, and Congo Town. These demolitions have left families homeless, traumatized, and without protection. Against this backdrop, STAN has received credible information from community-based investigators that the state-backed Bloody Bulldozer campaign may soon expand to target additional communities in Roto Town and the Pinsley area. We urgently call on the state to halt these actions immediately. Post-war Liberia needs land reform that safeguards vulnerable communities, not the weaponization of courts and state power to dispossess them of their legitimate homes and their legitimate properties. These heartless demolitions are pushing families into homelessness, hunger, and despair under the silent watch of President Joseph Boakai. His failure to act signals tolerance for abuses committed against the very people he was elected to protect. Whilst then respects the rule of law, we firmly reject its abuse by judges, officials, and elites who manipulate legal processes to dispossess struggling communities. Such actions deepen injustice, inflame public anger, and erode trust in the state. Stand calls on all Liberians, especially affected communities, to peacefully but forcefully rise to resist illegal evictions and defend their land rights within the confines of the law. We denounce what has become a bloody bulldozer campaign against the poor and perceived opponents of Joseph Boakai-led government, and we reaffirm our commitment to nonviolent resistance in defense of the people, their lands, and constitutional order.
Morba Modu is the chairman of STEN. Hundreds of workers of ACOMS, a subcontracted company of ArcelorMittal Liberia, have staged a mass protest against the company over what is believed to be bad labor practices. The protesters heard chanting "No benefit, no work" have accused ACOMS of carrying out bad labor practices against Liberians, failed to pay benefits, and address low payment of workers. According to them, after working on a 1.4 billion project, which is nearing completion, the company have shown no signs of paying their benefits, including hazard benefits.
You can see we have AML security, they are around this hour. So if you can look at this project, this is a project that we are continuing to talk about. Brother Liberians, let us be real. This project is $1.4 billion project. How can a Liberians, your own country, you build this project and you don't have a benefit? That's why the company is trying to tell, AFCON is trying to tell us that we don't have a benefit. We are requesting for hazard benefit. We are requesting for honor pay. So if you look at it now, we are carrying it live. So this is a time we need our benefit. The project is coming to an end. So we need our benefit. Can you please come into our aid? We are calling on the national government to come into our aid for us to get our benefit. We need our benefit. Our benefit will help us because tomorrow our children, our unborn children, even the one that we are born, other than they know that we are working. But at the end, they will ask us a question. That is what you do with the money when you are working with AFCON. When you build the washing plant, what you do with the money. So we are crying for our benefit. We are calling on our superintendent, Madam Kwame Gono. We are calling on Senator Nyan D. Toye to come to our aid. Even our Senator Samuel Koga to come to our aid. Even the affected district, we are calling on Nyan Flomo and Negegi to come to our aid. So, Martin Cody, we are also calling upon you to carry this video live, to share this video. So we are requesting for our benefit at this hour. Thank you very much.
And we've have an hour now past the news presentation. This is a reminder you're listening to the 1 p.m. edition of King's News Broom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one globe. We're taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments. Welcome back. And now, still with more developments, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, in collaboration with the African Development Bank, has formally launched the Domestic Revenue Mobilization Reform Implementation Project and the Debt and Ownership Transparency Technical Assistance Project in Monrovia. Speaking during the launch, the Finance and Development Planning Minister, Augustin Gafuan, disclosed that the project will help the Ministry of Finance and Energy with necessary technological machines that will assess the quality of materials expected and to stop other leakages in the sector.
This project is going to help us to capacitate the Ministry of Mines and Energy with the necessary technological potentials to be able to assess minerals and to be able to reduce leakages and corruption in a very critical sector. This project is going to do many things. It's not only mines and energy. Liberia Revenue Authority is going to be empowered as we get prepared to transition, hopefully by next year, to a value-added tax. What that's going to do is going to help us raise more revenue. We are investing in systems, electronic billing machines. We're taking manual interventions. The more you do that, the more you enhance revenue growth. And this project, just looking at the details, I feel very excited. This project is going to capacitate the police with about 28 vehicles, including 15 pickups, 2 SUVs, 2 ambulances, a lot of other equipment. Immigration is going to get some support. I don't want to go through all of this. The FRA is going to get support. We're going to assess the NACC is operation to conduct corruption rate assessment in the mining sector. So NACC's radar will be on that sector. We're going to equip the NACC, support the NACC to develop what we call a corruption assessment software and a lot of others. The judiciary, very important. So this project is going to help the judiciary. We're going to have deployed a one court management application software, and that is going to help to expedite court processes and accelerate the issuance of judgments.
Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustin Gafuan there speaking. Nima County District 7 lawmaker and political leader of the Citizens Movement for Change has donated huge quantity of cement and steel to the FIMUSA Hospital project in the township of Johnsonville, Monserrate County. Speaking at the donation ceremony, CMC political leader Representative Musa Berete also promised to pave the road leading to the hospital in order to give the community a facelift. Representative Berete described his contribution as an initial commitment and promised to work with the project coordinator until the completion of the facility.
Because of this hospital, which will benefit the community, I am saying to you that this road from here to the main road, CMC is about to pave the road. The reason for that, so that the people can say, but then the people coming in the community are good thing for the community. Then it will give you more respect. It will give you more honor. It will make your neighbor to feel that it's good to live with you. You got to bring benefit to your community. You got to make your community to change. And that's what we're talking about. That's the point I was making. When FEMUSA had a problem, we made a pledge of $30,000. Today, we are pleased to present to you 1,500 steel rod and 1,500 bag of cement, which is a total of 36,000 United States dollars. We gave this as our initial contribution. The commitment we make to the community for this clinic is that we will make sure that this clinic is finished. We'll work with FAMUSA. All this government is doing is to stop us from doing these things. They are fighting us every day. Anything you do to us, nothing. We'll persevere and we'll survive. And we'll pass through this.
CMC political leader Representative Musa Birite, they're speaking. The United Methodist Human Rights Monitor has called on the Liberian government to assist victims of the Satan in single and 72nd demolition in order to reduce the suffering of the ordinary people who I already find it difficult to make life. The Monitor's program manager, Jefferson Knight, described the action of the code as a violation of human rights and stressed the need for the government to relocate all demolition victims. Addressing a press conference held in Monrovia on Thursday, Knight cautioned President Joseph Boakai never to allow what he described as greedy and selfish individuals in government to denigrate his legacy.
We see our citizens, peaceful people, being evicted, being made displaced in our country. I see it as a gross human rights violation. It's a gross human rights violation what the government sets aside and it's not speaking, it's not acting to protect these people. But once an eviction will affect an individual or family or group of people to the extent of making a display, then that is a violation. A tantamount to human rights violation. It's a gross violation of our people according to international laws, especially the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The government should look into this. President Boakai, I think he needs to call the stakeholders. These people whose properties have been destroyed, they need to be compensated. They need to be provided shelter, housing, and what have you. It's not just mock talk. It's not just about talking. Look at what happened at 72nd, the AFL. People are claiming $500,000 worth of property and all these kinds of noise and help and what have you. When struggling Liberians are only hustling, hand to mouth, every day, things are tough. Joblessness, unemployment is so high, all-time high in our nation history. Then on top of this, with this kind of action taken against our people, this is brutal, it's evil, and I think it needs to be reversed, and the government needs to find all the resources whatsoever to ensure that our people are not slept outside. Look at the rain, and the people are in the cold, they're under the sun, the heat, the scorching heat, and then you just come overnight because one Lebanese man have been alleged want to build store or houses, apartment to make millions of dollars and go develop foreign countries. Is that how we should live and treat our people? This is wrong, and we condemn these actions to the highest term, and we want for this government, President Boakai and his administration, to act swiftly that will rescue our people. Since this government came under the mantra of rescue.
The Liberia National Police says it strongly condemned a video circulating on social media, which shows an officer of the police support unit. A claim was off duty for striking a female with a stick, causing her to have lost consciousness. In the statement issued Thursday, the police expressed opposition to any act of excessive force, abuse, or conduct that violates the law, human dignity, and the standard of professional policing. Let us now get a highlight of the situation.
Yes, I trust it. I trust it.
No, that one is no, that goes so. Oh, well, the girl in us.
A violent scene there involving police support unit officer and a lady. And now away from the home side, now dozens of people have been killed in a violent shooting attack on two villages in Nigeria's western state of Kwara after they refused to surrender to extremists who preached a strange doctrine, according to the state governor. Governor Abdullah Abdurrahman Abduraza said on X that 75 local Muslims were massacred in Tuesday's raid, while a state lawyer told the BBC that 78 people had been buried so far and the death toll could rise to an estimated 170 as more corpses were being recovered. Blaming Islamic military group Boko Haram for the killing, President Bola Tinubu deployed an army battalion to the Ifit area that asserted one of several across Nigeria in the last few days. And also, as well, an unknown number of aid workers are missing after a crack hit a hospital in South Sudan near the Ethiopian border, a charity group says. A hospital run by medical charity Doctors Without Borders in Jonglei State was hit in an air crack by the government of South Sudan forces during the night of Tuesday, said the South Sudan government is yet to comment. In the separate attack, MSF said its health facility in Paris, also Jonglei State, was on the same day looted by unknown men leaving it unstable for the local community. Our colleagues had to flee with community and faith and whereabouts are still unknown, the medical organization have said. So, folks, on this note, this is how we come to the end of today's edition of the news program. But before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories we close the forum. President Joseph Boyka tells Liberians God is not making new land as he endorses armed forces of Liberia's evasion of citizens near its barrack in 72nd Pittsfield. Bombay County Senator Edwin Snow accuses the executive branch of government of violating the established National Remuneration Standardization Act of 2019. Furthering finance, Minister Augustine Gafuan announced harmonization revisal, writes Senate to cite Minister Gafuan for clarity. Hundreds of Arcom's Arsenal Metal Liberia subcontracted company workers protested against bad labor practices, alleged the companies of failing to address long-standing underpayment and has a benefit despite the 1.4 billion project nearing completion. Labor Minister Councillor Cooper Craft terms the protest illegal. And that's where dozens of people have been killed in a violent shooting attack on two villages in Nigeria's western Kwara state. They refused to surrender to extremists who preached a strong doctrine, according to the state's governor. A known number of aid workers are missing after a crack hit a hospital in South Sudan near the Ethiopian border, charity group says. This note, we'd like to say many thanks to our reporters and editors for making today's news presentation a success. Jenan Pesiman brought us the news bulletin. Marvin Cole, Sarah Control, and ably coordinated the sound. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.